Unreal. That's how I wanted to frame this talk, but as it turned out, it didn't quite turn out that way because I approached it more like a C++ developer, because I have experience with C and C++, and I wanted to, that's essentially what I wanted to learn in Unreal. And so that's kind of how it happened. So I kind of, as Daniel saw just the other day, I like downloaded Unreal, I think on Thursday, and started messing around. I'm gonna pull up my notes here so I know what I'm talking about. But yes, I am not an Unreal expert. Not really. So the title of the talk is kind of a lie. Ended up approaching it from a C++ mindset. I wouldn't say much my Unity experience informed how I approach learning Unreal. They're very different engines. And I approached it mostly from a perspective of C++ and looking at the documentation, which is my kind of how I prefer learning. Especially with very popular engines, it's really hard to find any videos online that I think kind of teach you from an expert's perspective, I guess. So I stayed as close to C++ as I could. I use blueprints for small things. And currently right now, Unreal is open. But working from the C++ angle, I'm actually running it right now in debug mode. So whenever I make changes, I kind of have to recompile the engine to just run the C++ stuff. So right now it's like not even open. But really like approaching it from the C++ angle and not the Unity angle was mostly, I guess, a comfort thing. It made learning the subsystems a lot more interesting instead of having to learn it through blueprints and from this very high level, to me, feels very high level and abstracted point of view, kind of like, it's almost like you're looking down on Unreal. And what I really wanted to do was look up from the bottom, from what like the C++ area and everything, to kind of see what these blueprints are in relation to C++, what an actor is, and what a spawn and all. See, I'm not a real expert, so I can't really explain any of that. I read enough to understand that player controller possesses, that's the words they use, possesses characters, and characters are pawns. And the pawns are pretty much the chess pieces that are in the game. So since I knew I could be running, working in C++, I wanted to see how close I can get to bringing any of my own creations that already exist into the Unreal Engine. And I'd had this idea that, like, one of my games is written in C, and I thought maybe if I could use C, because C++ engine can compile C with some modifications to the code, I wanted to see if I could run one of my existing games in the Unreal Engine and have the output of my game, like the video, be kind of projected in Unreal. I didn't get that far, but I wanted to do a proof of concept. And so I took one of my other libraries, which is called CMedia. I call it Comedi, and it's a C library that runs, synthesizes MIDI files. So right now, I'll show you what that is in working in a different environment, working in CodeBlocks, working in just C here. So this is from the Minish Cap. It's when you're in the clouds running around. But this is just a MIDI file playing, fully synthesized on software. It's like a single thing, but it's running through STL and everything. So this is, I wanted to bring this into Unreal. And I was successful, but I'm just going to run it inside Unreal. So right now I have to kind of click the little green play button so that it compiles and then starts the editor. And initially I was worried that this process would take a long time to do each time you run it, to like have it load up the editor. Coming from Unity, whenever you have to like restart, it's like very slow. I know right now the Unreal project is very, very small. And I don't really know what the differences are. Maybe it's the C++, it's like running a smaller version or something. You don't have to do as much, but I don't think so. It's something I would have to look into. If I click play, it should run, unless my C library hits a null exception. Oh, there we go. Doesn't sound too great. But I wanted to get some visualization on the screen. And this is from, I believe, Mario Kart 64. The visualization is a little buggy. I didn't quite get that to work quite right. But this is running through how this is set up in Unreal. There's nothing in here. There's this my character blueprint. There's like nothing really inside this blueprint. There is this single event tick, pretty much telling the MIDI synthesizer to pull events, just so that we can get the visualization on screen. If this wasn't there, the music would still be playing, but we wouldn't see anything. The only other kind of maybe interesting thing in Unreal, the environment here, is that we can have the wrong thing selected. So I found working from kind of the bottom up, I'm calling it bottom up, even though C++ and blueprints are supposed to like work hand in hand, was that it's kind of a perspective that I'm used to working in, mostly in code, and coming in from this angle helps me kind of understand what these blueprints really are meant for. Like there was a point when I was working, I had an event tick, or not an event, an on event when a note would be played, and I had it just kind of bouncing a ball around whenever a note would be played. And it's like, just help me see these blueprints in a way that if I came down from I guess how most people would learn Unreal, I feel like I would have gotten bored really quickly, because I'm not really into like a visual scripting style. I'm gonna try eb_one it so I can change the MIDI file path. I really wanted to have it so that I can select a file, but that was like a whole nother problem. That's for a whole nother day. I'm gonna save, compile, and we'll see if this works. It does, but it's playing the percussion. So these are like the percussion instruments. It's not like running properly. So on the C++ side, I had to first kind of start off by creating a character class, just so that I can have something in the world to create the sound. because the thing that actually creates the sound is this use synth component. And I really just wanted to find a way to some sort of function that has pretty much this signature, um, a float pointer for the audio samples and the number of samples. Because the only reason why is because my little C header library relies on pretty much that exact same signature to output audio samples. And if I had a match, I can just like plug it in and see if it worked. Luckily enough, there was. It did take me like, I don't know how many, 3 hours to find it, mainly because the Unreal documentation wasn't, I'm not familiar with that space quite yet. But I'm getting there. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. Trying to see if there's missing anything else. The only other thing that I had to do was inside C, all my C libraries, I had to add like an extern C, some magic to get my C code running in C++. My current thoughts on Unreal compared to Unity, hard to say. It seems like I am enjoying it more immediately. I know when I got into Unity, I wasn't too excited into getting into it. But I think that's mostly because it wasn't an environment I wasn't familiar with, where with Unreal, I'm approaching it from a position where I think I just found a way to make it comfortable for myself. So if you're looking at trying to learn Unreal, choose either the two ways, blueprints or if you know C++, maybe the C++ route. But even then, like I had some headaches trying to just get the engine to work properly. It kept crashing. Or like an equivalent inside, if you're from Unity, there's like serialized fields. You kind of have the same thing here with like if we were to select something, there's all these things here. Just trying to get that reflection from C++ into Unreal was the first big hurdle I had to get over. But once you get through that, then things start kind of clicking, I think. But yeah, I mean, my original thought, what I was going to do was to actually try to make a certain kind of game, but I went down a different path for Slow Jam. And yeah, maybe later on in the month, we'll see where I'm at with this. But yeah. I think that's pretty much all I have.
Cool. What do you think you would? Do you typically use Unity?
Yes, like I worked for Zenfry for almost 5 years, and that's what they used. And I didn't use the Unity really so much before that. I did for some small projects, but it was never anything I would use kind of like not voluntarily, that's the wrong word, to like use on my own. I just like using C++ and C more. And so I used it for work for so long that it's just what I used. And then last jam, the pig jam, I remember sitting and opening up Unity and sitting there for maybe 2 hours, and then I was like, this isn't fun. I don't want to be working in an environment that I work in for work. So I switched over just to using C, and that made the jam a lot more just better. Yeah.
What are you using on your studios projects?
Using Unity, just because that's like where we are right now, where I am at least. And I'd use Unreal if I knew how to use Unreal, and that's the reason why I'm learning Unreal right now, is so that we can use it for other projects, because I do think they're like their pricing model is better for indies. So.
And how would you feel about individuals that are, this is like a two-part question. For someone that's maybe doing game dev for the first time or coming to a game jam for the first time, what would your perspective be on Unreal versus Unity?
Unreal is like I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't know what any of these buttons do up here. Of course, I'd probably be able to learn. I really think it's up to you to like try either or, see what you like, see what kind of feels right. I know with Unreal, you can just go in and use the blueprints. With Unity, though, you're gonna have to get your feet wet in C#. Maybe that's a good thing for some people. I'm not too sure, but I don't think I think a lot of people have been asking me this lately. I've been telling people just to go with Godot, learn Godot. So I'd redirect people away from Unity and Unreal unless they're using it maybe for larger projects.
And is there a reason you chose exploring Unreal versus Godot, or do you already have experience with Godot?
I have a little bit of experience with Godot. It's not really the engine I think that I want to be using for my next projects. A part of this is also because Annie's experiences with Unreal. It's like being two people, maybe more soon. It's just like being able to collaborate using like is so useful. There's some things where I know with like Unreal, I wouldn't have to like be like, oh, this is how you do this one thing. I wouldn't have to teach Annie how to do something. C++, and Godot versus C++ and Unreal. Funnily, I actually looked into using C++ in Godot because I was actually interested in that. And I do think I would have fun in that too. The only downside I think for that is if you wanted to create a plugin for Android or just the different platforms, you have to like create a new implementation for your maybe I'm getting confused. That's if you're creating a plugin for people to use. If you wanted to create a plugin for people to use using C++, you'd have to recompile for those different systems using all the different compilers. In Unreal, I haven't looked that deep.
Cool. Oh, what was my next question actually? Based on what you've learned thus far and what you've experienced using Unreal, do you feel as though there's good support resources for Unreal versus Unity? Because I find, based on my experience being in this community, a lion's share of the individuals are using Unity on top of a lot of the resources on the internet or answers being focused on Unity versus Unreal. So I'm wondering what your experience has been like in that regard.
Excuse me. I do think Unreal sort of has like these like very professional vibes around them, around it, especially with like if you go to like Studio Lab XR, for example, that's like film companies going in, and then you have like these people that are like Unreal certified trainers to like, I guess, be or instructors or something to teach this stuff. I'd assume there's something like that with Unity. I'm just not familiar, just I guess the different spaces they're in. In terms of resources, it's hard for me to, I think it's hard for me to have a good perspective on that, simply because whenever I'm trying to learn something new for Unity or Unreal, if I Google it, what's going to come up is like every single page on Google, like 1 second, whatever, most of them are going to be like beginner tutorials on how to do something. And those are not useful for me. It's almost like a skill that you have to kind of sift through all this like beginner tutorial stuff to get to like what you want to know. And that's usually why like I prefer the documentations. It's just once you figure out how to navigate the documentation, if the documentation is updated properly, sometimes it's not. It's just like that information is so much more like just content rich than those other resources. So I don't usually explore those resources much. But because I know they're there, I think if you really want to learn either or, you can just go on YouTube and look something up. If you're like coming from a more technical point of view, I would say go read the documentations. It'll probably be quicker than trying to scrub through a bunch of YouTube videos.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you contributing your time.
Yeah.
And